Welcome to my arty update. In today's video I'll be sharing with you all of the art and crafts I've been working on over the last month. And again, sadly there hasn't been very much craft going on, just a tiny little project that I had. But never mind, there is always this month to do a little bit of craft. So I'll start with the work that I've completed in my Zen-Doodle sketchbook. And last month I left you here on page 30, but I hadn't coloured it in. It's bright and it's cheerful, but I don't love it. I really enjoy working with these circles. I think they can be really effective if you get it right. But the composition isn't quite there for me yet. So many of the patterns on this page regular viewers will be familiar with, as I draw them quite a lot, but in different ways. So I was just playing around with putting these patterns into circles because I kind of wanted to create a lily pad style design. So I just started off with some pencil circles as guidelines and went for it. I didn't really know what I was doing, and it shows, but from this drawing I got the inspiration for this one. So it's not until you start playing around with ideas on a page that you can really start formulating ideas for a final picture. Sometimes they come very quickly, and sometimes it takes several months of working a design, coming back to it later until you get that final design. But I love this one, I really do. I like the composition, I like the symmetry, and I really do like the colours as well. I have tried this one again, and I'll show you that when I come to show you all the bits of work that I've done on loose sheets of paper. So I used my Inktense pencils directly on the page here, which is a process that I love to do in my sketchbook. It's just so easy, so handy. There's no mess, there's no washing of palettes afterwards. So a lot of my sketchbook work does involve my Inktense pencils, and yeah, I love them to bits. So this page was an exploratory page. There's quite a lot going on, and it wasn't about the composition. It was about learning some new tangles. So the first one on this page, Dionaea, no idea if I've pronounced that correctly. That's the one that I used on the previous page, and I really enjoy drawing that one. The second one along is called Handflower, and I really enjoyed drawing this one actually. I've used it quite a lot on subsequent pages, which you'll see shortly. And the leafy one is called Luv-a, Luv-A. I'm not 100% sure what the other little ones were. I didn't make a note of those. But yeah, this was just a page of practice to see if there were some new tangles that I could bring into my work. So I took those tangles and I played around with them a little bit more. Now, if you're new to the whole world of Zentangle, do go and have a look at zentangle.com. You can just jump on Pinterest or Google and type in Zentangle patterns, and you'll start to be presented with lots and lots of different types of tangles that have got step-by-step instructions on how you can draw them. So the leaves on the hand flower I didn't really like, so I changed those into a more flowing design, one that felt right for me. And like I said, I think that's something we should all be encouraging ourselves to do, is to use something as reference and then make it your own. I used my Inktense pencils, and even though the composition isn't great, it was a starting point for several more ideas. So the next one was very similar, except I used the same leaves on all of the flowers. And for this one I used my colouring pencils. I really enjoy using my colouring pencils actually. But what I wanted to do was try to come up with a nice composition. And this is not it. This one started out really well. The pencil drawings, I was trying to intertwine the flowers to make sort of like a nice composition. I had the idea of adding a background, and it didn't work out. We all get that sometimes, I know we do. So I tried again. This one was a much nicer composition. What I wanted to do was have an inked in black background like I did with my cherry blossom last year, but I'd left a gap between the black and the drawings in my cherry blossom, and I forgot to do it here, so it didn't quite work out. So I just used the black in the sections that were enclosed, but it was really good drawing practice all the same, even though, you know, the picture didn't turn out as I'd hoped. But I did like the intertwined leaves, so I carried those forward, and I had the idea of putting them in like a wreath shape, and I quite like this one. I think the leaves around the edge, the Luv-a leaves, are very almost gothic like. Not sure the black background really worked, and I did try that one again on one of the loose sheets that I'll show you later as well, which turned out much better than this one. So you would have already seen a picture very similar to this already as I put it up as a full process video. These are fantastic to do. These are so fluid, they're so simple, and they're really ideal on those days where you really want to draw but you haven't really got the energy or the inspiration to do a masterpiece. Just putting some squiggly lines on the page, thinking about flowing them backwards and forwards, slightly more wavy than regular neurographic lines, but yeah, a complete pleasure to do, and I've done several more of these as well, so don't be surprised if you see more. My seahorses. So last month I'd been working really hard trying to come up with a seahorse design, and I wasn't very happy with the faces or the heads of them, and so I just thought I'd have a play with some different ideas. Not sure these really worked, but so I tried to merge in some of the aspects that I liked from last month's seahorses, and these are adorable. These are so cute and lovely. They're not quite there yet. Again, they're lovely. I think they're yeah, very sweet, but not 100% happy with them. I think they need a little bit more work. So I did try a few more tangles here. Yeah. So I think the two leafy ones are called Wing It and Swash, and the shell shape is called Tryton. Adorable. I loved them both. I loved the fact that I was learning some new tangles and finding ones that I really liked. So I tried to work a little bit more, practicing drawing the Wing It and the Swash, and refining my seahorse, and I think it's almost there. The other thing I did here was play around with my ink tints to see which colours would work best on the vines and the leaves, or the seaweed, or whatever you want to call it. So this was, yeah, an exploratory page to think about colours. And then, because I think I was happy with my seahorse now, I tried to work on a final composition. So here I'm just trying to pull everything together. And at this point I really felt I was making some progress, so I went on to do it as a full separate picture, which again I'll show you when I show you my loose sheets later on. Right, something different. These are based on some mushrooms and toadstools that I did several months ago. I'm thinking about doing another lino print. Now, I tried lino printing for the first time when I was in lockdown, and I had some quite successful results. But I'd only done one colour prints. One of the things I'd like to try is a 2-colour print. So I was wondering if I could transform the mushrooms and toadstools into, a lino print design. So that's where this is going. I'm not sure these are the final designs. What I'm going to do is just, keep formulating these things in my mind, and over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully I'll be able to pull it all together. I am quite excited about having a go at that actually, because yeah, it's something different, isn't it? So this is based on a pattern that I drew in book 9, and my new idea for it didn't really work out very well. But I did quite like the colours and the patterns, so I tried again, just putting it in some circles. I do really enjoy working with circles, and if you never have before, I recommend you give it a go. I know it might not be for everybody, but it's such a simple and effective way to put something down on the page. I like it, but I don't know where it's going. I know, there's a lot of seahorses in this sketchbook. I liked these vines that I did on page 2 of this sketchbook, and rather than just using the new tangles, I really wanted to see if I could incorporate my own designs really. But like with most things, sometimes coming up with that final design isn't easy. It can take many months to actually, you know, really pull it all together. And another one. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the composition of this one. Yeah, what can I say? It's fine. Less so with this one. Right, so we're back to the hand flower tangle. And it had occurred to me that neurographic art is a little bit like stained glass. That's where I was trying to go with this one, and it didn't quite work out, did it? But it's fine. I tried again and it was even worse. Now, what I realised was that it looks more like stained glass if you don't round off the corners. I don't know why, probably because that's what stained glass is like. The colours are awful on this one, the composition is awful. But you know what? I like it as a concept, and I think if I could come up with the right composition, I'd like to give it another try. So those 2 pages were really just playing around with ideas. They're not great, it's fine. I'm inspired to try more, but I haven't quite got there yet in my mind. This one was awful, didn't go to plan, didn't look anything like I wanted it to, so let's move on quickly. Yeah, I was on a roll learning some new tangles this month, wasn't I? So there's a few new tangles in here as well. There's eye wings, bee-liss and flow leaves. It's just a full page of drawing, really. I like to do these full tangle pages from time to time. I think they're a lot of fun to do, and it's a great way to put something new down on the page, learn a new pattern, and then just fill it in with patterns that you know and love. And we're still on the sea theme. But this bit on the left-hand side, I saw on another person's drawing and I thought, oh, that looks so effective, doesn't it? And I really wanted to give it a try. And I think it is quite important that we do look at other people's work and that we do become inspired by their work. And even copying somebody else's work isn't a bad thing, as long as we're honest about the fact that we've copied or we've been inspired by, and that we don't use it for profit. So I really enjoyed it. I decided to add some blue wash to it as well though, just to bring it out, and I put some dabs of blue on the background as well. And then the new tangles here are harp and urchin. They didn't really grab me, any of these patterns, but that's fine. If we don't try them, then we don't know. So there's a lot going on this one. I have been getting very inconsistent results with the shell pattern called Tryton. So I decided that what I was going to do was a whole page just to try and get my head around it. What I'm struggling with is the orientation when I put the first few lines down on the page. And also sometimes I end up with long thin ones and sometimes I end up with chubby ones. So I thought, yeah, we're just going to do a whole page. And then I just filled it in with some other little patterns, and it's almost like one of those Where's Wally pages, isn't it? It's so busy that you have to look quite hard at what you're looking for. I really enjoyed doing this one, and I think I might have to do some more. Yeah, lots of fun. So that's it for this sketchbook. I've only got 6 pages left, and Tesco don't have any more of these sketchbooks in. I've been in every week, and they are completely out of stock. Every week I go in. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do for my next sketchbook, but I will undoubtedly finish this sketchbook in the next week or so. And when I do, I will put the full flip through up of that as well, so you can watch it cover to cover if you like. Right, my art journal. I left you here last time and there is nothing that I like about this page. The colours aren't very nice. But you know what? it really doesn't matter in the scheme of things. I know that I've learnt from it. I've learnt not to use these colours again. And part of the purpose behind this art journal is very simply just to have a place to escape. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't look nice like this. The next page was nicer though. So these little blobs that I started with on the page, that kind of set the colour scheme for the whole spread. They were just leftover bits of paper from my acrylic painting when I was practicing using the brush making flowers, and that's what I've used to stick in on the alternate pages so that I don't get bleed through. And I like this one. It's pretty awful drawing and colouring, but there's something about it that's just quite pleasant. And the same on this page. I had the little purple blobs from the flowers. The drawing isn't wonderful, but that's not what it was about. And I quite enjoy having those random sheets of paper stuck in to start with, because it does kind of set the tone. Your lines end up working around what you've got on the page. My lettering could do with some work. Perhaps I should learn how to do some nice lettering. That would be good, wouldn't it? So this next page, again, I haven't finished it yet. I started off with some of those cherry blossoms on the page and I worked from there. I absolutely adore the sage and the blush pink. I think those might be my spring colours actually. But yeah, that's that one. Right, my regular sketchbook. I haven't done an awful lot, but I have to first flip back a page because this one I hadn't finished last time. I'd just done the pencil outline and I used my Inktense pencils just to colour it in, and it's pleasant, it's fine. This one was just a face. Again, I used my Inktense pencils. It's just an outline drawing. Some of it's about observation and some of it is just, I sometimes feel that I need to get something down on paper, and on those days I think I struggle a bit more with my drawing. I should probably just leave it on those days. Yeah, I genuinely, I don't know what to say about this one. It's not great. I had this idea of doing some kind of flowing hair and it didn't work out. I don't know. This next one was a little bit sweeter, a little fairy. Yeah, I've got a little project in my mind which I'm working on, and hopefully I'll be doing a bit more of that over the next few weeks, but I just wanted to have a go at drawing a fairy, and I think she came out quite sweet actually. She's not perfect. This one, so back when I was looking at the flowing hair thing, I came across somebody that had used some paint or some ink to do the hair on a person. So I found a fashion drawing that I copied. I didn't make this one up, I copied this one, and then I added some black ink. But it is a fun concept actually, and I really should do some more of those. This next one's awful as well. I tried to do the diffusion ink thing again, didn't work out. It looks more like Wednesday Addams. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right, who has really bad days drawing sometimes. Yeah. So this one I did with my Inktense pencils, and I tried really hard to just do a little drawing of a church. So in one of my previous videos I mentioned how it doesn't matter what paper you use to practice in, and this is a perfect example. I haven't done an Inktense drawing, a proper Inktense drawing, for quite some time now, and I really just felt like I needed to practice and, you know, remember how to build up the colours. So that's what I did on this one. And then once I was happy that I'd got the colours right, I then moved on to having a go on some proper watercolour paper. Now this is the difference between working on cartridge paper and good quality watercolour paper. It makes quite a big difference to the end result, but if I hadn't have done it in my sketchbook first, I wouldn't have known which colours to use, how best to apply the colour, and what techniques worked and didn't. The one on the watercolour paper is much more precise because I was taking a lot more care on it as well, whereas in my sketchbook I was perhaps not taking as much care on the drawing. I'm quite pleased with that. You know, I haven't done a picture like that for such a long time that when I compare that to those awful pictures further back in my sketchbook, it does remind me that, yeah, sometimes you can do something that's quite nice. That's all I've done in my regular sketchbook, and I'll just look at the loose sheets now with you. So this one was a page of mosaic. I really enjoyed doing these last month. Such a lovely thing to do. If I could come up with a more detailed composition, that might be interesting, but for now I'm really happy with these ones. So this one was on one of my Inktense and sandpaper sheets. This is of my seahorses. Now these seahorses aren't brilliant. They're my version 1 seahorses, let's put it that way. But I did enjoy having that lovely little background to work on. So the composition isn't wonderful. I like it, but it's missing something on the composition. It's not quite there yet. But I would definitely use those Inktense and sandpaper backgrounds again. This one was a mark making exercise, which I started playing around with a couple of months ago, and I just really enjoy these. These are such fun to do. You make your shapes, you draw in some patterns, and you add a bit of colour. And these patterns can be little springboards for future designs as well. So yeah, I've really enjoyed doing that, and that won't be the last time I do a little mark making exercise either. Here we go. This one is probably one of my favourite pictures that I've done this month based on those drawings in my sketchbook. I've used my Inktense pencils and thoroughly enjoyed it actually. I think it's beautiful. I think if I was to do it again, I would make the outer leaves a bit greener. But other than that, I think it's a really pleasant, pretty little picture. So here we've got more fluid lines. I just thoroughly enjoyed doing these. Again, like the mark making exercise was fun and enjoyable, these were fun and enjoyable on a totally non-stressful level. And this is the one that I recreated from my sketchbook. I think you can probably see what I mean about the colours on this one. They're not as nice as the colours on the original one I did. So yeah, again, I think I'll rework that one in better colours. And this one, well, maybe this one's my favourite picture of the month. I think it's one of the final compositions for my seahorses now, which has been 2 months of trying to come up with the seahorses and the designs, and I think they're lovely. Really pleased with them. Sometimes I find getting the balance right between the foreground and the background quite hard, but I think I've made the background quite subtle in colour, that the seahorses really do stand out on this one. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that one. And what I'm going to do for a future video is teach you all how to draw them if you would like. So I'm going to do a step-by-step guide on drawing one of these seahorses in a future video. So yeah, if you are interested, do keep your eyes peeled for that one. So other bits and pieces, well, I've had a chest of drawers returned to me. Now this is a chest of drawers that I decoupaged with some rather fancy paper and some Mod Podge, probably in lockdown actually. Some of you will know that my daughter a few years ago got her own place and she took all the furniture from her bedroom. She's now got to a position where she's replacing it all, so this chest of drawers was returned to me. Now the Mod Podge on the corners and the edges has peeled away a little bit in places, so I thought I'd just do a repair job on it. So I just reapplied the Mod Podge underneath the paper and on top, pressed it down firmly, and you'll be pleased to know that it's as good as new again. That's pretty much the only craft project that I've done in the whole month. But the good news is my bluebells have bloomed. I'm so happy to have bluebells. You have no idea. I love bluebells, and now I've got some of my own. They're only in a pot for now until I figure out where I want to replant them. So I've had about 2 or 3 days of feeling completely normal, and the rest of the month I've been running on about 50% battery, which is good because that's like, you know, I can still function, I can still do things. but I still might need a rest in the afternoon, or I might need an early night. But yeah, in general, I've been way better than I was last month. I've even had a little trip to the seaside, which was wonderfully refreshing. It's always so nice to just hear the waves crashing down on the shore. And I am quite fortunate that I don't live too far from the sea, so it's something that I can do quite often. But the other thing is, I also managed a little short walk in the woods. Now, I love going for walks in the wood. There's something just that fills my heart with joy when I'm walking through the woodlands. Yeah, it's wonderful for my soul, which sounds a little bit hippie, but you know, that's the way it is sometimes. But it's been so nice because the weather has been improving, and even though it's been a little bit cold, we've had a lot of sunshine during the day. Yeah, we've had days of rain, but we've had lots of pretty good days as well, and that's been lovely. Anyway, that is about it for now. I really hope that you've had a creative month yourself, and that there might be something that's inspired you in my work today. Do give me a thumbs up if you've made it this far. Your support is genuinely very much appreciated, and I really hope to catch up with you again soon.